With the cancelled concepts of the first two games covered, we can finally jump into Little Nightmares 3, and with the DLC releasing in 2 parts in 2026, there's a good chance we'll discover even more cut ideas later on. But until then, let's go through everything that was cancelled or changed in this one. And before we continue, don't forget to like and subscribe. It genuinely helps this reach more Little Nightmares fans. So, starting with our new protagonists, Lo and Alone actually have a few unused leftovers in the files. For Lo, there's a model of a quiver, which was most likely meant to carry his arrows. And even his look wasn't always the same. Some concept art shows his cape in an orange or golden color, instead of the blue we ended up with. Alone has even more differences. There's a seemingly unused model of her that doesn't match the gameplay version. Her pigtails are bigger, her goggles are different, and she doesn't even have the belt that holds her wrench. Her suit is less baggy, with extra straps where the zipper would be, and her helmet has 2 straps instead of just 1 on the right side. Other than possibly being used for the toggle icons, no one really knows what that model was meant for. And even Alone's wrench used to be different too. Early concept art shows it as more of a pipe wrench or monkey wrench rather than the final design. From there, we start seeing changes in the enemies. The Dwellers, for example, were redesigned between the 2023 announcement trailer and the 2024 Friendship trailer. Their earlier look had rounder heads, big ears, and thicker fingers, and that old design still survives in some of the game's key art. Monster Baby, on the other hand, stayed mostly the same, but concept art reveals something important. Originally, both of her eyes were planned to shine the petrifying light, not just the right one. And that light was also more forgiving in early versions, giving you more time to escape, almost like the eyes in the first game. Even the Beetles were planned differently. Their fight sequence used to be shorter, with only 3 of them, and once you shot one down, instead of struggling back up right away, it would lie completely still, almost like it was dead, possibly to trick players into relaxing. Then, after the stun duration, it would get back up and keep flying, instead of instantly killing the nearest kid. Concept art even suggests more ideas were tested, like beetles that could pick the player up, and even a beetle larva design. But one of the biggest redesigns in the whole game has to be the Supervisor. Early concept art shows her with black eyes, a wider neck, less pronounced cheekbones, and a different hairstyle altogether. She also had only 4 arms attached to her torso instead of 6, with different sleeve lengths, and even a bracelet on her upper left arm. And instead of a normal dress, the design hinted at something even stranger. Extra limbs that would function like legs. Interestingly, even the Supervisor render used on the official Little Nightmares 3 website doesn't perfectly match the final model either, since that version has stronger wrinkles and no lower lip. And if you dig through the files, you'll even find she was referred to as Candy Ma'am, which was most likely an early name before Supervisor became final. Then we have the Herd, and concept art makes it clear they were originally meant to have more variety. Different shapes, different sizes, even unique bodies like slimmer members or one with only 1 leg. And honestly, those designs feel more unsettling because they look less like copies and more like real people twisted into something wrong. In some Carnival concept art, they even resemble the guests from the original game more closely, with similar hairstyles and a more familiar look. And while the puppets we see in the final game didn't change too much, there were other puppet types planned. More skeletal bodies, different faces, different expressions, still hanging from the ceiling, but with a much wider range of designs. The kin and mini-kin also went through major changes. Early on, they were closer to their descriptions from the Sounds of Nightmares. Minikin originally had legs, wearing purple striped pants and brown shoes like the kin, but those legs were cut during development, and the kin's right hand was removed as well. Concept art also shows an alternate minikin design with long limbs, short sleeves, and a mask hiding a horrific face. And what's really interesting is that the kin still has unused animations for walking without minikin. One of them is a limp that looks exactly like no one described in Two of a Kind. There's even a moment in the You're In for a Ride trailer where a walking animation appears that doesn't quite match what we got in the final release. And once we move into the chapters, you start seeing bigger structural changes. The Necropolis, for example, likely didn't even have a nighttime section at first. In the announcement trailer, areas that are now shown at night in the final release were originally daylight. And the reason that changed might actually be fan feedback, people saying the location looked too bright, so they may have shifted the atmosphere to feel darker and more Little Nightmares. Monster Baby's encounters also changed in that chapter. During her first nighttime appearance, her light used to look up toward a ladder instead of only sweeping left and right. And in another encounter, she would walk up to the buildings instead of rising from below them. The Friendship trailer also shows a cut puzzle where Lo and Alone would cross a chasm using rotating platforms controlled by eye symbol buttons. Step on the button, rotate the platform, step off, and it resets. Even the location of the final mirror changed several times between trailers, and in the files, the Necropolis is sometimes called Labyrinth, which is probably what the chapter used to be named. The Candy Factory has its own mystery too. There's a room shown at the end of the You're Being Watched trailer filled with stacked monitors, and that same room appeared in a promotional screenshot a month before release, showing a lever on the left side that doesn't really match the final version. In the final game, the monitors show early versions of certain rooms, like the Supervisor's second encounter, her office, and the pressing machine room, but they also show rooms that we've never seen anywhere else. Whether those are cut rooms or just visuals made for the monitors is still unknown. The Carnival has multiple cut sequences as well. In the early trailers, there's a moment where Lo and Alone would sneak behind a group of the herd, and another cut puzzle where one player hangs onto a rope while the other turns a crank to lift them up. Early screenshots also show a platforming section near the start of the fairgrounds that was later replaced with a collectible doll. And near release, the area leading up to the roller coaster apparently had no music at all, yet there are music files in the game that suggest there was once a cut performance by the kin. Even one of the trailer scenes doesn't match the final gameplay. In You're In for a Ride, both Lo and Alone are shown walking on the plank above the kin, but that can't happen in the final game since only one player can be on the plank in that moment. The final release also changes the angle of the scene and adds mini-kin. And finally, we get to the Institute, which had early names in the files like The Copy and Lost Island. The Copy is especially interesting because it's used in other Little Nightmares media as another name for the county's psychiatric institute. And one of the biggest cut ideas tied to the Institute is the existence of a mirror world between chapters. The idea was that after traveling through mirrors, Lo and Alone would end up in a stormy void and would have to search for the next mirror to reach the next location, possibly even with low gravity. And in early versions, players could hold their weapons while crouching, which was later removed. And that's basically everything that was cancelled or changed in Little Nightmares 3. I know it has fewer scrapped ideas than the first two games, but with the DLC coming in 2 parts next year, I'm still hoping we get even more cut content to dig into. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you still haven't watched the cancelled concepts from the first 2 games, go check those out. I'll catch you on the next one.